Funding for NJ Spotlight News provided by the members of the New Jersey Education Association, making public schools great for every child. RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together. New Jersey Realtors, the voice of real estate in New Jersey. More information is online at njrealtor.com. And Orsted, committed to delivering clean, reliable, American-made energy.
Tonight on NJ Spotlight News, deadly weather. Plainfield still recovering from last week's sudden severe storm as New Jersey braces for the remains of Tropical Storm Chantal. Plus, public health advocates warn that President Trump's Medicaid changes threaten to keep the most vulnerable from getting the care they need.
They are already exhausted. They are working hard to the bone. And the last thing they need is discouragement in a life that's already hard.
Also, community college funding. While the new state budget restores some funding, some students could face financial hardships.
Community colleges are helping fill some of the big shortages we're seeing right now, whether it's in nursing or teaching and other programs across the state.
And an empty sky. Debate over if New Jersey's official 9/11 memorial remains incomplete.
I feel that it feels abandoned, and I feel like it feels like a disgrace.
NJ Spotlight News begins right now.
From NJPBS Studios, this is NJ Spotlight News with Brianna Venozzi.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us on this Monday night. I'm Raven Santana in for Brianna Venozzi. We begin with a few of today's top stories. First, Central Jersey is still recovering from severe storms that swept through the region suddenly on Thursday evening, leaving 3 people dead in the Plainfield area and causing that city to declare a state of emergency and canceling July 4th activities. More than 20,000 power outages were reported around Plainfield after the storm. Most have had service restored, but some outages persisted into today, according to PSE&G. Cleanup continues in the area into this week, with numerous homes and vehicles experiencing significant damage from downed trees. New Jersey got a reprieve in recent days with picture-perfect weather for the holiday weekend, but storms are forecast to return to the state this week, starting this evening as the remains of Tropical Storm Chantal blow through the area after causing dangerous flash floods last night in North Carolina. From storms in New Jersey to the devastation in Texas, a New Jersey native is being recognized as a hero after helping in rescues from the deadly flooding in Central Texas. 26-year-old U.S. Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin helped save 165 people from Camp Mystic, the all-girls Christian summer camp that has become a center of tragedy in the July 4th weekend storm. Torrential rain caused the Guadalupe River to rise 26 feet in less than an hour, sweeping through the campground on the banks of the river. Ruskin stayed on the ground to lead triage efforts at the camp, working tirelessly to get people onto helicopters and to safety. It was his first rescue mission. According to the latest estimates, at least 95 people have died in the flooding, including 27 children. Dozens are still missing. Among them, 10 girls from Camp Mystic remain unaccounted for. In our Spotlight on Business report tonight, Newark Airport may finally be back on track after the completion of a key infrastructure project that the FAA says will improve network infrastructure and reliability. The brand new fiber optic communications network between New York and the Philadelphia TRACON, which controls aircraft arriving and departing Newark Airport. The project was spurred after a series of communication outages between air traffic controllers that grounded flights and led to weeks of delays and cancellations, as well as cutbacks on flights in and out of Newark Liberty. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said in a statement that the new fiber optic line will prevent these equipment failures. It's the first step in upgrading the decades-old air traffic control system in Newark.
Support for the Business Report is provided by the Newark Alliance presents the 2025 Halsey Fest, featuring the vibrancy of Newark's Arts and Education District and Halsey Street. Halsey, a neighborhood built on hustle and heart. The 2025 Halsey Fest schedule is available at halseynwk.com.
President Donald Trump signed into law his massive tax cut and spending bill on the July 4th holiday, just one day after the House narrowly passed the controversial measure and sent it to his desk. This so-called One Big Beautiful Bill makes permanent Trump's 2017 tax cuts and expands funding for immigration enforcement and border security. It's a big win for the president and his allies, who celebrated at a ceremony outside the White House on Friday. But the bill has been widely criticized for paying for those priorities by cutting funding for food assistance and health care, with new requirements that are expected to push millions of Americans off Medicaid. Here in New Jersey, hundreds of thousands are expected to lose coverage over the next decade, including individuals with disabilities. Senior correspondent Brenda Flanagan reports.
When the president signed what he called the most popular bill ever on July 4th, he highlighted its sweeping tax cuts paid for by deep reductions in spending aimed primarily at social safety nets like Medicaid.
The largest spending cut, $1.7 trillion, and yet you won't even notice it. Just waste, fraud, and abuse.
We're talking about kicking 350,000 eligible residents off of New Jersey Family Care is not about addressing fraud or waste or abuse. This really undergirds our public health system in New Jersey. Everyone will be affected by that.
State officials warn New Jersey's public health and hospital systems face a $3.3 billion annual cut in federal funding that will slash services. But Republicans like Congressman Jeff Van Drew, who voted for the bill, argue there will be no loss of Medicaid for legal eligible recipients. There will be no changes in coverage for those in need of assistance, including kids, expectant moms, seniors, or people with disabilities.
For us, having this Medicaid has been a lifeline.
This Newark mom needs Medicaid services to care for her severely disabled son at home while she's at work.
There is no way we'd be able to hold it together if Manny didn't have that private duty nursing and the services and the respite that comes with Medicaid.
But she says the new law now mandates a 20-hour work week for able-bodied adults on Medicaid. And it also makes some re-register for benefits every 6 months instead of once a year. Her family mistakenly lost coverage for 2 months because she says the bureaucracy is already overwhelmed by paperwork and riddled with errors. She fears thousands will permanently fall through the cracks.
It's still such a complicated web. This can mean devastation for so many families that are already exhausted. They are working hard to the bone, and the last thing they need is discouragement in a life that's already hard.
That's exactly what the bill is designed to do, is to create bureaucratic barriers to keep otherwise eligible residents off of Medicaid.
But many Republicans regard Medicaid as a flawed and bloated system that needs radical reform. They welcome the new law. Speaking to Newsmax, Congressman Steve Scalise noted,
those able-bodied adults who are turning down work, the 35-year-old who's sitting at his mom's basement playing video games, is going to have to go get a job again.
The political divide remains stark.
So it's disheartening. It's a grim time.
Gwen Orlowski advocates for New Jerseyans with disabilities. She says a recent meeting of stakeholders figured the funding cuts could end up reducing options like dental services or home and community-based programs like visiting nurses.
So all of those things, I think, are on the table to come into play as the state is going to have to figure out how they're going to run the Medicaid system with so many fewer federal dollars.
The new law takes effect in phases spaced over the next 3 years. Some recipients would have to pay more out-of-pocket costs starting in 2028, but nobody's seen the new rules yet.
I think it's going to be a really rocky road because I think there's going to be a lot of unknowns as this unfolds. I think people on expansion Medicaid are going to be at great risk of losing access to Medicaid, being terminated.
The new state budget includes a $6.7 billion surplus, in part to help cushion federal funding cuts, she says, but nothing of this magnitude. I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJ Spotlight News.
Turning now to the state budget, community colleges across New Jersey are getting some financial relief heading into the next school year, thanks to lawmakers who stepped in to restore some of the funding initially cut from the $59 billion budget. However, not all funding was spared. Financial aid programs, including the Community College Opportunity Grant, were reduced. So what does this all mean for students here in Jersey? To discuss more, I'm joined by Hannah Gross, education and child welfare writer. Hannah, let's start off with the good news. So how much money are we talking about? And when we think about the restored funds, where is that all going?
So lawmakers restored $20 million in operating aid to the community colleges, which helps them pay for programs and services, helps them not increase tuition too greatly from year to year. And they also restored funding for summer tuition aid grants, which help students pay for their college over the summer to stay on track to graduation.
And how does that help students when we think about that financial stability?
It's important, especially at the community colleges. If students stay engaged over the summer, they're more likely to return for their second year. So having that funding over the summer is super important for kids who are maybe working and they're part-time students.
And when we think about who that affects, how many students are we talking about here in Jersey?
So there's about 240,000 students who attend the community colleges. It's a huge chunk of the undergraduate population here.
And we understand that this move was made with bipartisan support. Is that correct?
During budget hearings, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle were outspoken about the need for increasing funding for community college. Governor Murphy has made funding for higher education a huge priority during his time in office, but tried to flat fund or decrease funding for a lot of these higher education programmings, causing lawmakers to step in and increase that funding.
Not all the funding made it through. So what cuts were made and who is that affecting?
So there were some cuts to the Community College Opportunity Grant, which is basically part of the state's promise for free community college. So in the past, it helped students with family incomes up to $100,000. If your family was making under $65,000, you could go to community college for free. Between $65,000 and $100,000, that was reduced tuition. Going forward, for students who are newly eligible for the program, you'll only be able to take part if your family is making under $65,000.
So how are students, through your reporting, pivoting?
I mean, they're trying to stay on track to their degree as best as possible. The summer tuition grants are still in place for this summer, so they're trying to take summer courses this summer to stay on track, and then next summer there's some money available. It's not going to be the full cost as estimated by the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority, so they're hoping they can get some more money there or just pile up on the credits and keep making progress towards graduation.
When we think about community colleges, bigger picture here, how important is that to Jersey's economy when we think about students who may not now have any access to that education?
It's huge for the economy. Community colleges are helping fill some of the big shortages we're seeing right now, whether it's in nursing or teaching and other programs across the state. Students are also very likely to stay in New Jersey, whether they're going on to a four-year college or university or they're joining the workforce, often in their community. So the money that goes to community colleges generates more dollars for the state economy.
That's an excellent point. And I know that off camera we spoke about this. You have been in conversations with community college presidents. What is your reaction to this when we think about the funding and to financial aid? Because that also impacts them as well.
I mean, they're pleased they're getting more money than was initially proposed in the governor's budget. They told me that something is better than nothing, but at the same time, they already had to plan their tuition for next year before the governor's budget was struck. So there are some tuition increases, but this means services and programs will be able to remain at many of the state's community colleges.
And clearly, we know that you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you see, what do you now foresee happening with these funding cuts?
I mean, it depends who the next governor is and who is in the legislature next year and how important funding for community colleges and higher ed will be. These colleges are also under a lot of pressure at the federal level with threats to take away their funding based on their use of diversity, equity and inclusion programs and some other cuts across the board. So they're in a bit of a sticky situation right now.
All right, Hannah Gross, excellent reporting as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Raven.
More than 640 police officers faced major discipline in 2024, according to new data released by the New Jersey Attorney General's office today. That's a 40% increase over last year. The majority are for attendance violations, but the report also includes several serious allegations of misconduct. The AG today also reported more than 15,000 internal affairs investigations involving about 8,800 officers across the state. The figures come as a new bill is introduced in Trenton, sparking strong reaction on both sides of the debate over police oversight. The legislation, backed by Republican State Senator Michael Testa, would remove the state police from under the Attorney General's authority and place the agency directly under the governor's control. Supporters argue it would free troopers from directives, but civil rights groups warn it would weaken critical accountability measures. Ted Goldberg reports as part of our Under the Dome series.
When I speak to law enforcement agents, they say to me all of the time that they feel that the handcuffs have been placed on them, not on those who are accused of criminal activity.
A bipartisan bill co-sponsored by Senator Michael Testa would make the state police its own government department, reporting to the governor, rather than reporting to the Attorney General as they do now. For Testa, the bill is partly based on criticism of the state's Immigrant Trust Directive, which limits how New Jersey police are allowed to interact with ICE.
Prior to the Immigrant Trust Directive, if someone came in and tried to turn themselves in, the New Jersey State Police would have detained that person, made some phone calls, potentially some emails, some form of contact with ICE to determine whether this individual was in fact wanted by ICE. And they weren't able to do that. They turned that individual away.
One of the detainees who broke out of Delaney Hall in Newark tried to turn themselves in to police in Bridgeton, but police said they couldn't bring him back because of the Immigrant Trust Directive. The proposed bill has some fierce critics.
This proposed bill is an assault on Black people.
Social justice activists like Reverend Charles Boyer say this bill is a way for state police to avoid the reforms that Attorney General Matt Plakken's office recommended, coming from two reports that found racism in the state police's internal affairs and promotions practices.
They have discriminated and persecuted Black state troopers. And if Black state troopers are not safe, certainly Black civilians are not safe.
I'm not sure what the motivations are behind it, where that's coming from, overall, other than the police not necessarily being in alignment with some of the reform work that has been going on over the last several years.
There's no secret that they are upset and angry because of the recent reports that have come out, which have shown a light into how egregious the state police continue to be. So the whole push to come up from underneath the Attorney General's office is a push to deal with less accountability.
From 1999 to 2009, state police were run under a consent decree from the Federal Department of Justice after allegations of racial discrimination. The state NAACP, which has called for Superintendent Patrick Callahan to resign for failing to address problems in the force, says it's open to the bill.
We want change. And we want accountability. And if that means moving it to the governor's office, that's good.
They are equal opportunity discriminators at the New Jersey State Police. This is a department that just seethes of racial injustice and racial discrimination.
New Jersey is in the minority of states where state police report to the AG's office. State NAACP President Richard Smith says an inspector general model might work better for New Jersey.
We need an independent body. And when that individual is appointed, I would like to see that individual appointed to like a 6-year term so that doesn't coincide with the governor's term.
Offices for Placken and Governor Phil Murphy declined to comment for the story. Senator Testa says he believes this bill could pass during the lame duck session, or at least some form of it. For NJ Spotlight News, I'm Ted Goldberg.
Under the Dome is made possible in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
It's been more than 2 decades since the September 11th attacks, and the Empty Sky Memorial at Liberty State Park in Jersey City is meant to serve as the state's official monument to honor New Jersey's victims. But the memorial is in the middle of a fight between state officials, September 11th family members, and advocates, as well as the designer over the conditions of the memorial site. So is the memorial actually finished, and is there funding to support any redesign or restoration? Senior political correspondent David Cruz went to the memorial recently to investigate.
Almost by default, the Empty Sky Memorial at Liberty State Park is the most visited memorial in the state, with an estimated 5 million people walking through it in a year. It's the centerpiece of a 2.5-acre, specifically landscaped site that its original designers and a panel of 9/11 family members expected to look like this, with iron cladding surrounding the entire structure and inscriptions on the exterior. Instead, the memorial today, 14 years after it was dedicated, looks like this: unkempt, neglected, and in decline.
This memorial is my life's work.
Jessica Jamroz is the original designer of Empty Sky. When she sees what's here, the naked, cracked exterior, the grove of dead trees, weeds growing in light fixtures that don't work, and broken information kiosks that could let anyone know what this was supposed to look like, it can be a lot. We're sitting here in front of it. There's a the exterior wall of this place looks like the exterior of a prison, to be honest.
Well, David, I'm sorry that it feels like that. And I feel that it feels abandoned, and I feel like it feels like a disgrace.
If you go there and you see what is there and what the original concept was, you could see how people could be upset, especially people whose family members are ingrained in that shrine.
Dennis Hallian is a former state trooper who lost friends and colleagues on 9/11 and in the years after. He says victims and their families deserve a little more respect than the state is showing.
It's a shame because I think the folks that are, putting out that the project is complete, if they had loved ones that were part of what occurred at 9/11, I think they'd have a different tone.
I didn't even know that memorial was there.
Cheryl Cooper Foreman's longtime partner died on 9/11 too. He was a Port Authority cop. She said she appreciates this site for what it could be.
It's nice. They just need to finish it and make it look presentable.
Like anything involving state bureaucracy, the story of this memorial, what it looks like and what remains to be done, is complicated. There were $14 million in cost overruns from the beginning, say state officials. Funding ran out. The state rushed a finish-up plan that changed elements of the original design. They tried to execute a separate contract and didn't consult Jamroz. Like I said, complicated. Last month, Treasury and DEP said they considered the project complete. It should be noted that the Attorney General's office, the Department of State, and the Port Authority all have a piece of the purview over what happens here.
So I feel as though the interdepartmental nature of this project is what collapses it from getting anywhere forward, because DEP has ideas and Treasury has ideas and people agree and people disagree, and sometimes the governor really, really cares, and sometimes there are other things going on in their agenda. The families were promised a befitting memorial to honor their loved ones, and this is not what it is right now.
Jamroz says she has contractual rights of approval to any changes in the design. Officials we talked to at Treasury and DEP acknowledge that the memorial is incomplete. It's unclear if they acknowledge Jamroz's claim to final approval over changes. Jamroz says she's looking for a hero, but with no money in the new state budget to get the project done, there doesn't appear to be one in sight. The DEP says the plaza surrounding the Central Railroad Terminal and the rest of the grounds surrounding the memorial are due for a major makeover. The designer and some 9/11 families hope that by then, this memorial will finally be complete. At Liberty State Park, I'm David Cruz, NJ Spotlight News.
That's going to do it for us tonight, but a reminder, you can download our podcast wherever you listen and watch us anytime by subscribing to the NJ Spotlight News YouTube channel. Plus, you can follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky to stay up to date on all the state's big headlines. I'm Raven Santana for the entire team at NJ Spotlight News. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.
NJM Insurance Group, serving the insurance needs of residents and businesses for more than 100 years. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, and by the PSCG Foundation.
NJM Insurance Group has been serving New Jersey businesses for over a century. As part of the Garden State, we help companies keep their vehicles on the road, employees on the job, and projects on track. Working to protect employees from illness and injury, to keep goods and services moving across the state. We're proud to be part of New Jersey. NJM, we've got New Jersey covered.
Whatever your cancer journey, there's one place in New Jersey where our discoveries become your care. You'll have access to advanced treatments, including clinical trials, thanks to our renowned scientists and multidisciplinary teams at New Jersey's only NCI-designated comprehensive cancer center, the one world-class cancer program that's close to home. RWJ Barnabas Health and Rutgers Cancer Institute. Let's beat cancer together.